If you have brown eyes, you're gonna want to watch this video. Sultry Glam, so hot. I have 3 reference pictures that we're going to go off of. Star of the show today is the eye look. I did my base already. If you're new here, I'm Mariana. On this channel, we deconstruct makeup looks from the internet. Now we're focusing on Pinterest. Last week, I did a look from Miley Cyrus from the Grammys, and I'm super excited to get into this because I've been seeing this all over the place. Let's jump right in. Base is done, we're gonna jump in with the eyebrows. So for brows, we're going in with the NYX Full and Stop Concealer in the shade Alabaster. So for this snatched sultry glam look, their brows are the common theme with the eye shape going on. The brows are uplifted and just like the eye look, and just everything is just so... I've tried to reshape my eyebrows in the past, it hasn't worked out, so I'm gonna follow my natural brow shape. The eyeshadow is gonna be doing all of the work to snatch the eye and uplift it. So I'm basically just carving out the eyebrow from the lid and covering the entire lid with this concealer because it's gonna act as our eyeshadow base. I'm gonna blend that out with a concealer brush. I don't really use eyeshadow primer, but if that's your thing, do your thing. So all of these looks are very neutral toned and kind of cool toned, so I'm going to be using the Tartelette In Bloom palette. This is a beautiful palette for neutrals and soft sultry glam looks, so here we are. And the brush set that I'm going to be using today is from ColourPop. So first things first is we're going to be taking a tapered shader brush. Basically, it's just kind of like a dome-shaped brush that is pretty short. This is going to make it easier to pack on a dark shade and keep it in the place that we want to stay, because we want to control where we're putting the dark shade so we don't end up looking like a raccoon. We're controlling the eyeshadow that we're placing strategically on our eyes. I think I'm going to be sticking to this first reference picture because they do have a theme, but they are pretty different, and I really like this one. So I'm going to pick up the shade Activist, which is a really dark brown, and we are going to go ahead and just put that on the outer corner. Now I'm basically just going to tap it in. Again, we're really trying to control where we're putting this, and tapping it and being really minimal with the movements is going to prevent fallout. And another thing that prevents fallout is good eyeshadow. Now the key to this sultry, snatched looking glam eye is creating that snatched shape. So the way that we do that is focusing on the outer corner and the inner corner and creating directional eyeshadow look. So with the darker shades, I don't want to take this out too far because we are going to blend it, because we do want to blend it in with other shades. And as we blend and add more shades, it's just going to get longer and longer. So I want the darkest part to be minimal and not overpower the look. So we're gonna stop right here. One of the things that I highly recommend everyone to have if you're just getting into eyeshadow, or if you are an eyeshadow girly, is this thing. This is basically a color switch where you can just wipe off your brush and all of the pigment comes off, so you can use the brush with other shades and it won't get muddy and messy. It doesn't clean your brush like sanitarily, but it does switch your color. As a makeup artist, highly recommend. We're gonna go in with a transition shade, so I'm going in with the shade Smarty Pants, and I'm gonna mix that in with the shade Rebel, and I'm using the same exact brush, and I'm just gonna put that right on top. And it's okay if we lose that dark shade because I will be going over it again, but I'm basically just trying to focus on creating that shape. So I'm blending this into that dark brown, and I'm trying to create the shape of the elongated eye and making it a little bit longer as well. Going back in with the dark brown a little bit, I'm just gonna buff it into that transition shade and create a really nice blend. So I'm using the lightest amount of pressure to again minimize fallout and maintain control of where we're putting this really dark shade. So I think I have a good base of the shape that we're going with. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the inner corner now because this is really interesting. I'm going to use the transition shades only for this to map out the shape that we're going with, and I'm going to follow my nose bone structure while also kind of reshaping it to mimic that snatched shape. So I'm using the lightest amount of pressure and I'm just building that really harsh line. So we have the base. We can definitely clean it up with some concealer later, but I'm going to go ahead and use my color switch to wipe off the brush. And then I'm just going to blend out the edges without using any extra eyeshadow, and then try to taper off the end and have it go into the nose contour. So we're basically reshaping our bone structure a little bit. Makeup is fascinating. So I'm pretty happy with where we're at right now. I'm going to go ahead and buff out the edges of this to make it less harsh. So I'm going to go in with a lighter transition shade. We're going in with Jet Setter and Flower Child. And I'm going to go ahead and just buff that into the part that's pretty harsh and then take it into the lid area as well. Now with this shade, I think I am going to go a little bit further out toward the temple, because this is not going to look crazy if I take it all the way out here. It would look crazy if this dark brown was all the way out here, but this is creating a shadow and contouring our bone structure and our temples to, again, create the illusion of a more uplifted eye look. So I am pretty happy with where we're at right now. I feel like we are looking a little bit more snatched on this side, so I'm going to move on to finishing off the lid. Taking that same shader brush, we're going in with the shade Charmer, which is the lightest, whiter shade in this palette, and then we're just going to carve out that line that we made with the eyeshadow. Instead of using concealer, we're going to keep it nice and soft, but we are going to create a contrast. So I'm just going to follow that line that I created. Just kidding. We are going to use concealer. The same concealer that I used to carve out my brows. And we are just, again, going to go right under that line that we created with the eyeshadow. Reinforce it because it's going to create a nice contrast, making the line a little bit more there. So I have switched to an angled brush for this concealer. I do want to keep the concealer very controlled. So we're basically going to end this line where the highest point of the brow bone is, and I want the line to be as straight as possible. It's a little bit messy right now, but we have the structure going on. I'm going to pick up some more of that transition shade just to make this line a little bit cleaner and just a little bit darker. So I'm going to go ahead and deepen up the outer corner just a little bit more. I'm going to take a lighter dark brown shade and I'm just going to put that right here. I'm using a big fluffy blending brush because I want to blend all of these shades that we already put here together while also just darkening it up a little bit. And I'm going to stay in this pocket area because this is where we want the darkness to stay. And I also want to control the shape, as I have been saying, but I just basically want to make this a little bit darker. She is smoky. She's smoky. So going back in with that light white shade, I'm gonna go ahead and set the concealer that we put here and literally follow the shape that we created. Take it all the way up to the brow bone and basically just cover all of that negative space that we have been neglecting this whole time. And also just separate the eyebrow from this dark part in the outer corner. So I do want to darken up the outer corner a little bit more. The eyeshadow is not as dark as I would like it to be, so we're going to go in with some eyeliner. So this is the Half Magic eyeliner. This is really interesting. This is a really precise tip. So I don't want to put too much eyeliner that it looks like I'm wearing eyeliner. I do just want to darken up this outer corner a little bit more. So I am just going to place this right here, and then I'm going to add some more black eyeshadow on top of it to blend it out and give us some more definition and depth. And I'm going to stop right there, make it a little bit thicker, and taking the two darkest shades in the palette, we're just literally setting the eyeliner with the eyeshadow, and then we are just going to buff out the edges so it's nice and smoky. And then we're basically just going to layer what we did in the beginning and just add another layer of those shades on. So we're literally just doing everything that we just did one more time. So I'm really happy with the smokiness of this, but it needs to be sharper. So we are going to do my favorite thing in the world and clean up the eyeshadow with some concealer. So I'm going to be using the concealer that is the same as my under eye concealer, and I'm going to pick it up on my concealer brush. It's really important that you use a concealer that matches whatever's going on under your eye so that when we blend it out, it's not a really harsh, weird, just random spot of brightness on your face. So we're just going to go ahead and follow our lower lash line and just go straight to the temple and then drag that concealer down. Do not be afraid to put concealer over powder, and just make sure that the line is nice and clean. So I'm going to take my concealer brush and just blend that out and be very careful that we do not blur that clean line that we just made. Basically just focusing on the bottom part and blending it in with the rest of our face. You can definitely go back in with some powder bronzer and blush or whatever you put in this area so that everything looks nice and blended and there isn't just a crazy line right here. unless that's what you're going for. I like to just take my finger and blend away the part that's right over here so that it doesn't go all the way into my hairline. This is stunning. Also forgot to mention that I did not go in with any shimmer like the inspiration picture has, because I like the way that this matte looks and we're just taking inspiration and we're not doing a full-on recreation, but I'm here for this. So I put on a coat of mascara. This is from KVD Beauty. We're gonna go in with the lower lash line now. I'm gonna go ahead. So I'm gonna line my waterline with this 99-cent store black pencil liner and put that all up in here. I'm also gonna try to get it into my lower lash line as well, so it looks nice and blended. It's just easier to smoke out. I'm also gonna take this eyeliner and tightline so that you can't see that skin gap between my lash line and my eyeball. What a difference. So when I am smoking out my lower lash line and there's a lot of dark heavy colors going on the eye, I do like to keep it as close to the lash line as possible because I don't want to blow it out too far, because I'm not a fan of how that looks on myself. So I'm going to take a really small brush. This is an angled brush, and I'm going in with the second to darkest shade, which is the dark brown, and I'm just going to run that through my entire lash line, and I'm trying to keep it as close to the lash line as possible, but still giving myself some definition. And then I'm gonna go in with a transition shade and just smoke it out ever so slightly, just to give it like a finishing end, but also I don't want it to pass my under eye creases. Also, if you find that your under eye creases a lot, it is much easier to hide when you smoke out your lower lash line. Cute. And now we're gonna run some mascara on the lower lash line. I usually like to keep the eyeshadow shorter than where my lashes get to on the lower lash line. I really have a problem with a lot of eyeshadow under my eye. Sometimes even mascara on the bottom is a lot for me. It's really a me problem. I think it's time for lashes. So I am gonna go for something a little dramatic, and we're gonna go with Milan by Lily Lashes. This one is flared out at the end, which is literally the entire point. Okay, you know the drill. Center first, and then we secure the end. And I'm gonna lift this up a little higher than my natural lash line because, again, we're going for snatched. And then inner corner. And then we squish. One more thing, when you are doing a really winged out look, I would recommend to push the ends of your lashes up and the beginning of the lash down so it's more straight. That way you get more flare toward the outer corner. And I think we're done. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other eye and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I finished my other eye nude lip combo. This is the look. I feel so pretty. It's smoky. The eye color is popping. So let me know what you think. Again, if you want to get the base details in the base tutorial, I will be posting a full video on TikTok. It will be linked down below if you want more details on that. If you have any other video suggestions for me, I would love to hear it. Any other looks that you'd like me to recreate, whether it's from Pinterest, whether it's from a celebrity, literally anything, feel free to DM me on Instagram. Let me know what you think of this look because I'm here for it. The bone structure. If you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe. We do makeup deconstruction every week. Recreations, we flip-flop. So subscribe, like this video. It really helps me out. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.